We're here where we discovered for the first time in over 50 years new fragments of biblical texts for the Dead Sea region. We found one fragment with from the book of Zechariah.
The basket and the scrolls were both found during a very big project led by IAEA to survey all the caves in the Judean desert. After a lot of years of that looters are coming in the caves to loot all the amazing stuff, coins, basketaries, clothes, and scrolls, of course.
All right, Shalom. This is Hara 1 by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. When I say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Harakakadash, Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, Nakwat, and the children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. Hey, man, I'm going to read this article. It says, Israel reveals newly discovered fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. Now, let's get this real quick. All right. It says the Dead Sea Scrolls, also the Qumran cave scrolls, okay, are ancient Jewish or Israelite and Hebrew religious manuscripts, let's just say spiritual, that were found in the Qumran caves in the Judean desert near Ain Freshka on the north shore of the Dead Sea in the West Bank. All right, this is one of the earliest known artifacts that were found dealing with the biblical writings of the Bible. It's written in it had every book translated, what you would say, copied by the scribes, and it was written in Aramaic, Koine Greek, and also Paleo-Hebrew, Lashon Kodash, okay, which is the original language. It's funny because every language that's written in, when it gets to the Most High's name, it has the Lashon Kodash or Paleo-Hebrew lettering. All right, his initials. So it says here the Qumran caves. Now let's see what the Qumran caves are. It says the Qumran caves are a series of caves, some natural, some artificial, found around the archaeological site of Qumran in the Judean desert of the West Bank. It is in these caves that the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. All right. All right. It says here, Qumran, the guides say, was home to a community of Jewish ascetics called the Essenes, all right, who devoted their lives to writing and preserving sacred texts. That was their job, to record and scribe everything out and preserve the text in different languages, the scriptures. Because languages were changing. A lot of our people spoke Greek, a lot of our people spoke Aramaic, and a lot of our people still spoke the ancient Hebrew. All right. And that's why when Yahushua was when crucified, over his head was written in Greek. I think it was Aramaic and the Paleo-Hebrew. So it says they devoted their lives to writing and preserving the sacred text. They were hard at work by the time Yahushua began preaching. And Yahushua began preaching, a little bit around 33 AD, 34 AD, around that time. They were hard at work by the time Yahushua began preaching. Ultimately, they stored the scrolls in 11 caves before Romans destroyed their settlement in AD 68. You see how it come together. In AD 68, that's when Nero died. All right, and Vespasian or Titus was waiting for orders to go in there and invade Jerusalem, and later on he sent in Titus in 70 AD. All right, and so all of that was happening from. Let me get this real quick. One more. All right. Now it says this. What is the meaning of Qumran? The ancient name of the settlement was Sakaka, as written in Joshua chapter 15, verses 61 and 62. The name Qumran is from the Arabic era. And the Arabic really came around the 5th century AD, 500 AD. And is derived from the Arab word Kumar, meaning the moon. Okay, so let's get this real quick. All right, this is Joshua 15, verse 20. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. So that's why it was in the West Bank in Judea. All right, the Judean hills. It says the uttermost cities of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the east of Edom southward were Kabzeel and Eder and Jegur. Okay, so now you get all the way down to the point. It's naming all these places. It says Ashdod with her towns and her villages, Gaza with her towns and her villages, unto the river of Egypt and the great sea and the border thereof. This are the lands that are going to be given to Judea when the kingdom begins. All right, all right, so let me get this. It says, in the wilderness, all right, it's the land of Judea. Bathar, Rabbah, Midden, Sekaka. See that? All right, so let's click on it. All right, it says Chakaka, and it means thicket, one of the 6 cities of Judah located in the wilderness, bordering of the Dead Sea. All right, so it's a city that was bordered on the Dead Sea, man. So there's over there near what you would call Qumran today. All right, which was named in Arabic, but it's a Hebrew. It was named in Hebrew at first. All right. Again, when was Qumran destroyed, or Kakaka? Was destroyed by the Romans during the Great Revolt in 68 AD. All right, the Jewish-Roman Wars. When the Israelites, what you would call Jews at that time, that's what the Romans called us, Jews, but we really Israelites. They were scattered and ran out of that land. The temple was burned down. So these books of the Dead Sea Scrolls go all the way back to the 3rd century BCE, all the way up to the 1st century AD. All right. So, all right. So now that we got a little understanding on what the Qumran caves are and the Dead Sea Scrolls, let's get into this article that might elaborate on what the Dead Sea Scrolls are more in depth. And they just found fragments of the Dead Sea Scroll the other day. It's crazy. It's funny because I was going to do this lesson a few days ago. It was a brother. I don't know what he was, man. He left a comment, more like a scoffer. And he was saying the Paleo Hebrew is not the true Hebrew. We don't have proof of the Hebrew. Then next thing you know, they they find these fragments the same night. It was put out into the media the same night. All right, but you see this damn caveman over there. You know, what the hell kind of connection do these people have to those artifacts? Nothing. You can just tell, man. They look like they're enslavers or the oppressors that found artifacts of their slaves. All right. So it says this March 16th, 2021, Jerusalem. Israeli researchers, that's what they call them, Israelis, because they're not true Israelites. Israeli researchers unveiled on Tuesday dozens of newly discovered Dead Sea Scroll fragments containing biblical texts dating back nearly 2,000 years, adding to the body of artifacts that have shed light on the history of Judaism, early so-called Christian life, and ancient humankind. So the Lord never called us Christians. We were always called Israelites or followers of Yahushua. But 2,000 years ago, that takes you back to the time when Yahushua was on the scene. The parchment fragments was written on parchment paper. It says ranging from just a few millimeters to a thumbnail in size are the first in about 60 years to have been unearthed in archaeological excavations in the Judean desert, right? Because what's the name? The IAEA, they put out a commission or order for them to search those caves. They were found as part of a 4-year Israeli national project to prevent further looting of antiquities from the remote caves and crevices of the desert east and southeast of Jerusalem, which straddles the boundary of Israel and the occupied West Bank. The project turned up many other rare and historic finds, including a large woven basket, as we saw, with a lid that has been dated to approximately 10,500 years ago. Oh my goodness. These people, man. Damn carbon dating, man. That should be all over the place. You just said it goes back 2,000 years. Now you done jump and said the basket they found goes back 10,000. Damn devils, man. It says, and may be the oldest such intact basket in the world. Sheesh, man. The archaeologists also found a 6,000-year-old partially mummified skeleton of a child buried in the fetal position and wrapped in a cloth. All right, so they even found some horrifying shit of people that was tormented and tortured, however old it is. You know, you're talking about some 6,000 years old. That take you almost to the time of Noah, 5th century. What the hell are they talking about, man? Down into the time of Matazariah, Mitzrayim. Hey, could have been mummified. You never know. 6,000 years old. That took you around the time of 4,000 BC. That was around the time of Matazarium, Mitzrayim being born. All right. The desert team showed exceptional courage, dedication, and devotion to purpose, rappelling down to caves located between heaven and earth. Wow, so they climbed up high into these mountains or caves, and then they had to rappel down into them. The departing director of the Israel Antiquities Authority, which is the custodian of some 15,000 fragments of scrolls, man. They got all that stuff in their possession, and we don't get to see none of it. All right. This is the word antiquities because keep bringing it up. So I'm gonna get the definition for you. The ancient past, so it just means ancient. especially the period before the Middle Ages. All right. So antiquity was basically before the 15th century. It says in the history of Europe, the Middle Ages or medieval period lasted from the 5th century to the late 15th century. So from the time Islam and Arabic was created around the 5th century, and the Masoretes started their misdocumentation of the scriptures, the Masoretic text. That was around the 5th century AD, all the way till 1500s. All right. So we know what the word ancient, it goes back to what antiquities, but especially around that time before the Middle Ages. All right. Anywhere before 500 AD. What was that? All right, I'm gonna read this because my battery about to go out, so I'm gonna go quicker. The arid conditions of the Judean desert provided a unique environment for the natural preservation of artifacts and organic materials. Right, it's sort of like a library. The Most High set that up, made it perfect to store items. It says that would ordinarily not have withstood the test of time. See, the Lord wanted it to stand the test of time. The latest fragments came from a scroll that was first discovered in the so-called horror cave, man. The horror caves. South of En Gedi in Israeli territory, written in Greek by two scribes. It dates from the period of the Bar Kokhba revolt, almost 1900 years ago, when Jewish rebels fled with their families and hid from the Romans in the caves. All right, the Bar Kokhba revolt was a rebellion of the Jews of the Roman province of Judea. You notice the more they go back in time, they don't say Israeli, you know. That was something established in 1948 with the fake Jews. The Bar Kokhba revolt was a rebellion of the Jews, Israelites, of the Roman province of Judea, led by Simon Bar Kokhba against the Roman Empire, fought circa, meaning approximately around 132 to 135 CE. All right, so that was basically a little bit after 70 AD. So that's why they said it goes all the way up to the 1st century. And around 175, that's when you get the Josephus that was written. All right. It says it was the last of 3 major Jewish Roman wars. So it was the last one. So it is also known as the 3rd Jewish Roman War, of the 3rd Jewish Revolt. All right, so it's the 3rd one. All right, ever since we started revolting in 66 AD under the oppression of the Roman Empire. So it started around 132 and it ended 135. Okay, that's the Simon Bar Kokhba revolt, and that's when a lot of Israelites ran to the Qumran caves, what they called the horror caves, man. So there's a lot of murder and death that happened in there. They were running from the Romans, the Edomites. All right, so it says it dates from the period of the Bar Kokhba revolt, almost 1900 years ago, when Jewish rebels fled with their families and hid from the Romans in the caves. All right, it says the Romans discovered and besieged the refugees in the horror caves until they starved to death there. Shit. The first archaeologists to arrive in the last century found their skulls and bones placed in baskets in the cavern. Wow, man. The new fragments contain verse. That's one of the worst ways to go out through hunger. But this is the reason I want to read this, because I want to see what verses they found. Could be a spiritual message to the elect from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it says the new fragments contain verses from Zechariah, Zechariah, chapter 8, verse 16 and 17, including part of the name of Yahweh written in ancient Hebrew. You understand? So it's a cut on vocab in them. It's a cut on all these goddamn idiots. Cut on IUIC. I'm gonna read that again. The new fragments contain verses from Zechariah 8 and 16, and including part of the name of Yahweh written in ancient Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew is what? Paleo Lashon Kodash. And verses from Nahum, chapters 1 and 5 through 6, both from the biblical book of the 12 minor prophets. They call them the 12 minor prophets, but they were saying like the 12 major and minor prophets. But that's something they made up. All right, so let's read it, man. Let's see what they found. And I truly believe, I haven't read it yet, but I believe that it's going to be a spiritual message for us and a warning to them. This is Nahum chapter 1, verse 5. All right, this is one of the scriptures they found. The mountains quake at him. Wow. Okay. Wow. So let's go up further. Verse 3. Yahweh is slow to anger and great in power. That's right. That's what they found, yo. See, the Lord is slow to anger. And that's why he hasn't destroyed Esau yet. He's angry with the wicked every day and is long suffering. And he's letting them know, like, your destruction is coming. That's what this is for. It says, because the Lord is not slack concerning his promise. He's talking to them damn Israelis, man. Let's read it. And will not at all acquit the wicked. Yahweh have, I know man, listen. That's just like when Josiah, King Josiah in the 6th century BC, he ruled from 641 to 609, king of Judah. When he was 8 years old when he became king, and he found he had them doing excavations around the temple, all right, and they found what you would call um, the Deuteronomy, dang, Book of Deuteronomy. All right, they found some books from the Book of Deuteronomy, and they read it to Josiah, King Josiah, and he rent his clothes because he never really heard the word. At that time, the scriptures were neglected. All right, so he had them doing some excavations, and they around the temple, and they found this around Solomon's temple specifically, and they found the Book of Deuteronomy as a scroll. And then one of the men that came to Josiah, he said, "I just found a book." That's it. He's called it a book. They weren't really clinging to the word at that time. But Josiah believed in Yahweh, but he never read the scriptures like that. So who would read it and interpret it would be the Levites, all right, at that time. And that's when you get the whole story of Huldah. They had to go to, even the women or the men, they had legal position to explain the laws to you if you didn't know. Any city the Levites would go into, they would scribe the law, or they would orally teach the law to the people, or what they should do, or the judgments for those laws, for breaking those laws. So Josiah found that, and at that moment, it told him that they were being wicked, and that they were going to be destroyed. That the Lord going to destroy Israel for that. But when he went to Huldah, not because she was some super leader, no, it's just she was the Levite that was closest to them that they could find at that time. So they could have went to Jeremiah, they could have went to Zephaniah, right? But instead they went to the chick Huldah, the lady Holder, sister, and they got advice. That's all she gave was advice on what to do next, according to the law. All right, and Josiah said, "Yo, we being wicked right now. What the hell? We about to be destroyed. I thought we had a good kingdom here, you know." And Holder told him and said, "Hey, they're going to be destroyed, but it's going to be after you, Josiah, because you're a good king." You know, so they just knew that at that time. Like, yo, you doing things right. You ain't got to worry. So it's going to most likely be after. And that's what happened in 586 BC. So now you have Esau that has found, um, what they tried to hide, what's been hidden right in plain sight. And this is what it's saying to them. They found this now, and they need an interpreter. We represent the interpreter now. Of course, we know the Levitical priesthood has been changed. We're all a nation of kings and priests. You know, it's about the men now, the men of Israel. The Lord said His voice is unto the men. I may go into a lesson on that whole situation, but anyway, let's see what the Lord is saying to Esau right here, and to the world. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. Yahweh have His way in the whirlwind. So He's like, yo, he like, listen, y'all judgment coming when the Lord sends destruction upon His place with the ICBM missiles. That's when He's gonna have His way. He's talking to him, man. This is real. Like, dude, they just found this, and this is what they found. So the Lord saying He has His way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds of the dust of His feet. The clouds are the dust of His feet. All right. So these damn storms, there's nothing to Him. He rebuketh the sea and maketh it dry, and drieth up the rivers. Then He do that with Moses. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at Him, and the hills melt. Talking about the governments, man. This is spiritual. Of course, it's talking about physically. Look at Mount Sinai. He burned it, and the earth is burned at His presence. Yea, the world and all that dwell therein. So this is what they found. Verse 5 and 6. All right. So the Lord said, "What? Wow. This is what He's telling them right now. This is what they found. This is what they found. The mountains quake at Him." This is a parable, man. The Lord is talking to him. It's twofold, because the mountains quaked when He showed up during the time of Moses, and that's what's about to show up now. But He's really talking about these governments, the Israeli government, the fake Jews. Yeah, Esau. They're gonna quake at Him, and He's gonna have His way when He brings the storm, the destruction, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at His presence. Yea, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before His indignation? And who can abide in the fierceness of His anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by Him. So He's saying, yo, Yahweh is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and He knoweth them that trust in Him. All right, but He had a judgment that came upon our people in 70 AD, and um it prolonged all up until now. Okay, we were scattered, and now we're being brought back. So the Lord was saying His anger, His fury was poured out like fire. And that's why the people call it the horror caves. And it's the evidence. The Lord, like, hey, see what I did to them? Watch what I do to you, damn Edomites. All right, so it says the new fragments contain verses from Zechariah 8 and 16. Let's see what that is real quick. All right, because this right here is a message to us. It's clear, man. They found these scriptures. You had messages for Esau and these heathens in the world, the judgment upon the world. And also you have the judgment for the elect. This is what He's saying to the elect right here. This is what they found. Zechariah 8 and 16. These are the things That's right, man. Let me see. I might read up a little further. Let's start from 13. And it shall come to pass that as ye were a curse among the heathen, wow, O house of Judah. It's no coincidence they found these scrolls, man. Right, this is a message. And Judah means praise, and the house of Israel. So will I save you, and ye shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong, saying, yo, don't fear, keep doing the work. All right, this is a spiritual message the Lord just sent us to increase our faith. He says, but let your hands be strong. Keep teaching, keep pushing, doing the work. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, as I thought to punish you, when your fathers provoked me to wrath, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I repented not. Wow, I just read about that in Nahum. So again have I thought in these days to do well unto Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not. The Lord is saying, don't fear in these days. We living in that time. Verse 16, these are the things that ye shall do. So he's telling us what to do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. All right, so speak the truth to each other. Don't be out there lying like IUIC. You know, speak the truth, man, to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates, man. Don't go around doing like Sakari and all them threatening people and shit. You know? So execute the judgment of truth, so the judgment of Yahweh Shai. All right. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor, against your brother. And so the Lord, this is what the Lord is saying to us right now, man, before the Passover. And love no false oath. Don't love any lies. For all these are the things that I hate, saith the Lord. Wow. All right. So with that, I'm gonna end this lesson here, man, so it don't get too long. But I truly believe that them finding these specific fragments at this specific time before the judgment hits and before the Passover, you know, all these things, that the Lord is sending a straight message through the Spirit around the world. You know, this is going to be all over the news, and you know, it was everywhere. But if people are in the know, you know, Esau seeing it, Esau reading it, them fake Jews over there reading it, and what they reading is Nahum. You know, they came across that book of Nahum. I forgot what chapter it was. I'm gonna scroll up. 1 and 5. Excuse me. And the message to the elect is Zechariah 8 and 16. You know. So if you want to read the rest of the article, if I can remember, I'm gonna put this article in the description box, and maybe you brothers out there can do lessons on it. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say, Amen. Stand in faith. The Lord said, um, let your hands be strong. Keep doing the work. He's like, I got you. The same way I was over you to destroy you. All right. I truly believe that this was a message by the scriptures that they found. All right. As the Spirit. Psalms 103 and 8. Yahweh is merciful and gracious. And that's what we in a time of mercy and grace. Slow to anger. Same thing I read earlier. And plenteous in mercy. He will not always chide, neither will he keep his anger forever. All right. Says he have not dealt with us after our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquities. For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward them that fear him.